Hello, I'd like to call this meeting of the West Allis Milwaukee School Board to order. Suzette, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Carr. Here. Ms. Deal. Here. Mrs. Kaiser. Here. Mr. Burns.
Present.
Mr. Becker.
Here.
Mrs. Lee. Here. Mr. Sickich.
Present.
Mr. Keller.
Here.
And President Lee.
Here. All right, today we have a workshop, financial stability and efficiency, 22-23 technology department update and review of district technology plan. And I believe we have a few here from the technology department to talk about that. So did you have any introduction or?
Nope. Welcome. Take it away.
Thank you. I'm Kevin Clark. I'm the manager of the technology department. And with me, I got Bruce Heisler, who is our network engineer.
Very good. Welcome.
Thank you.
So
go ahead.
you can go right ahead.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
All right. Well, I haven't had the privilege of meeting a lot of you. I know I've seen some faces around and so on, but thank you for being here and having us. So a couple agenda items. I'm going to go over our department staff, technology plan, security, and school consolidation, things that the department has been working on. I'm going to start out with the tech department staff. Have a fantastic staff, just very dedicated. Actually, between us, there's currently 9 employees. We have 130 combined years of experience. So we got a lot of retention, just dedicated, very low turnover, and great team players. They really work together well and couldn't be more proud of the staff. So myself, I've been the manager of the department for just over a year. And I've had 23 years with the district. Prior to that, I worked for a educational dealer that sold Apple computers to K-12 schools and worked with quite a few K-12 school districts throughout southeastern Wisconsin, including West Allis, which is where I knew some people and ended up getting a job here. So almost 35 years in education dealing with technology, 23 years at West Allis. Bruce, our network engineer, he's been with us for 10.5 years. Karen Johnson, who is our network database specialist, she's been with us 18 years, and she is new to the network database specialist job. She came on the start of last school year that she started that job, but she was a building tech before that. Mike Thrun, I'm going to include him in here. I call him our honorary member of our department. He used to be with our department, but this year when Connie took over for school services, Mike moved from our department to that department, but we still work closely with him, and he's been with the district for 5 years. So we still call him an honorary member because we work closely together with him on many projects. Dan Amundsen, these are our technology specialists. These are the ones that are out in our buildings doing all the work at the school. Dan Amundsen, he's been with us for 32.5 years. Preston Brown has been with us for 1 year. He took over for Karen when Karen moved from the specialist role to her place. So he was a new hire a year ago. Tim Byron has been with us for 10.5 years. Shenard Haywood has been with us for 6 years, and he was a new hire when I took over the network database specialist job, which I then took over the manager job. So the really no turnover, nobody has left our department. It's all been through some changes and so on. And Julietta O'Brien, she's been with us for 15 years. And Brandon, who I know you all know because he's here all the time helping out with board meetings, he has been with us for 10 years. So very dedicated staff and very pleased with them. Technology plan. I got a link to the plan in the slides. We started a 3-year plan, and it started in the 2021 school year, and it'll go through the 2024 school year. It was board approved on June 14th of 2021. And the purpose of the plan, I actually pulled this right from the plan, but it provides focus, direction, and alignment between the technology plan, equity beliefs, and the district strategic plan. And we use that to kind of do long-term planning on what equipment and what is going to be ordered and how things go. So we're currently in year 2 of the 3-year plan, and we'll actually start working on the new tech plan for 2024 this summer. So we'll get to work on getting that developed and in place. Some of the things we've accomplished in the technology plan or we're working on. New iPads and cases for all elementary school and Lane Intermediate School. We did that in year one of the plan. New Chromebooks for intermediate school and high school buildings. We did that, some of it in year one and a little bit more in year two. And the main reason we replaced older Chromebooks that were no longer supported, so they weren't being offered updates or anything like that. So we had to replace those. We updated the Apple TVs for elementary and Lane in year one. Replacement projectors as older models fail. So we ordered a group of projectors in year one. And then as projectors failed throughout the year, we replaced them with new modern projectors. We did the same thing this year and we'll do the same thing in year three. And speakers for the classroom, we are adding those throughout the technology plan years 1, 2, and 3. Security, that's probably one of the biggest things. Yes.
If we have questions, you want us to hold those to the end or,
I would-
because they
I
have
would-
different sections as you go along, so I didn't know. if you-
I would say you could ask them now, whatever works best for you. I'm okay with asking them while we went over the subject.
Okay, yeah, I just had a question about the technology plan. I know that there was a lot of delays in getting technology initially after we had approved it just because of, well, initially there was some backlog in getting orders fulfilled for Chromebooks, I know, and then with COVID and everything that in supply chain demand. Is there anything that is delayed? It has been delayed in the technology plan due to those supply chain issues or other back order issues that you're aware of?
In the technology plan right now, no, there's been no delays. We've gotten all the equipment in place. We're not waiting for anything.
Okay.
In some of the funding that we have in our budget and upgrades that we're doing, one of the big things is we're going to be rolling out a new wireless system.
Okay.
And the controllers we ordered and were supposed to be ordered last year. They were ordered at the beginning of last year. And there was such a delay that we just got them a month ago, 2 months ago. And those came in. And then on top of it, we ordered new APs that are going to be going in. So that they were talking about, we ordered those at the beginning of the year. And there was, I think, a 54-week backlog. That's recently cleared a little bit and they're starting to show some ship time. So we think we'll get those before the end of the year.
Okay.
But we're still waiting to hear. So there are still definitely some constraints in the supply chain.
Okay.
But has not affected the computers, iPads, Chromebooks that the students have been using and teachers.
The things that are, the replacement of the wireless and the APs you mentioned, is there any negative detriment to that as far as, are we delaying other things because of it? Is there a security problem? Like, is there something that would be negatively by having that delay in us receiving them and being able to implement them in the district?
There shouldn't be. I believe there's more security options with the newer
With
wireless
the new
controller.
one, the reason we're replacing the wireless is the current has been deemed end of life. It's
Okay.
not end of support yet, but it has been deemed end of life, so it is an end of life product, and that's why we did the E-rate projects the way we did, so that we would beat the end of life. And
Okay.
that's just kind of the way things fell with the access point. It is the only real big thing that we've had. And the controller is a major delay, but it's not impacting anything security wise currently.
Yeah, and there was also a snafu when we ordered the new controllers. At the time, Cisco listed the APs that we have on the supported list, so we were just going to plug the new controllers in, and all the APs were going to work. Well, as they started shipping this product, we had already placed the order for the product. They started shipping the products. They started running into all kinds of problems. So they've since kind of removed the AP. So now we have to kind of combine the two projects all into one.
I see.
We're working with CDW to see if we can get some of the controllers in place ahead of time and
Sure.
do some planning. And it's one of those where it's kind of supported, not supported. There really hasn't been a fine line yet from Cisco on where it is, but there was definitely a big snag. It was originally supported and now they've issued all kinds of bulletins that there's some major issues with it. So we don't really want to move ahead
Yeah.
with the old APs on a new controller if there's going to be problems.
Sure, no, definitely. All right, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Security, huge, a big work with the department trying to keep secure and keep ahead of everything. A couple of things that we have done. We've had 2 security audits done by outside companies that provided network audit. It provided insight into potential security risks, offered solutions to past risks discovered, helped prioritize what risks to resolve first. A lot of it was based on user and financial impact. So items, they would prioritize things that were obviously the most important. And, some of that maybe had the least effect on people were in the front where they didn't necessarily see it. Low cost, easy to do. Those are some of the things we focused on right away. And other ones will be bigger projects. So they outlined all that. The first one we had done, CDW came in. We have an independent team that comes in and does that. One nice thing is it's totally separate for the sales force. So anything that they did, they didn't hand it to their sales rep and say, oh, here's what you got to sell West Allis.
Mhm.
The report just went to Bruce and I, and we reviewed it with their security team. They tested servers for supported versions and patching. They scanned servers for potential security vulnerabilities. They did some penetration testing. It was performed internally and externally, trying to get into our network from outside. If they were inside, what could they get to? They tested user computers for supported versions and patching. They scanned user computers for such security vulnerabilities. They checked user accounts for password vulnerabilities. And again, they provided a written report of all of the findings. Then we also had Amplified IT come in, which is now actually owned by Google or CDW. They bought that company. We had worked with them before. They do a lot with the Google admin side of managing Chromebooks and Google accounts. There's a whole admin council, and Amplified IT has been doing that for many years. And they actually audited our Google environment and our admin council, and they reviewed our domain for best practices and all the correct settings. All settings were documented and analyzed, snapshot and analysis of current security and compliance settings. And they provided a written report again of all the findings and any suggested changes. Multi-factor authentication is a project we're still working on. It's an authentication method that requires the users to provide 2 or more verification factors to gain access to a resource. Again, the project is still in progress, has not been rolled out. It's used to provide additional security to district resources. We'll focus on high target users and systems first, like payroll, business office, administrators, technology staff, Skyward Finance, VPN, connecting in from outside, server management, system admin accounts. When ready to roll out, we'll work with Amanda to provide communication. And we've been testing with technology staff. We've set up a couple accounts where we have multi-factor authentication, and then we'll have to determine, how far and how broad. Are we going to make teachers, 2-factor authentication for every time they want to log into the email? Is it every 2 weeks? There's a lot of things, we don't want to totally stifle them. But I think for somebody that is involved in payroll, if they're going to log into the payroll system, we should probably require 2-factor authentication. So work on getting that set up, and we can work with many different systems and get that tied in across the board. And we'll use our Microsoft credentials where everything lives to authenticate and do the 2-factor authentication. Yes.
Quick question. I know at one point there was discussion about maybe having people change their password more frequently. Is that something that we're still considering?
Yes, and that was something that did come up in the security audit, that we should do that. So that'll be something that we'll roll out. It has a bigger impact. We got to decide how often it should be. I know there's some companies that do it every 6 weeks, some every, 4.
Mhm.
We'll have to come up with a happy median. I know it's one of the things we've tried before, and we get a ton of screaming. They don't like it, but it's something that needs to be
Yeah.
done. One of the big things we did this year is we removed administrative access to all of the teacher computers. The students never had administrative access. Teachers always had administrative access. They could install any software they want. But that also meant if they got a bad email or something that wanted to install, they could click on it and it would install and they wouldn't know. So now, anytime it's created a lot of extra work, there's a lot of complaints. Anytime they want to install a program or update a program, it's a work order to the help desk. We've been trying to put things in an online portal where they can install it themselves. It's going pretty good. It works pretty good with a Mac. They can do updates and things, but it's been a change that a lot of them don't necessarily like. But, again, a needed change. That was one of the first big changes. KnowBe4. This is a security training company that we use, and they do security training. So we offer or require a mandatory security awareness training for all staff. So an email gets sent out to all staff at the beginning of the year and they're required to complete that training. We sent out the email invites on August 22nd. Any new staff that came, the nice thing, if you came in after August 2nd, if we had a late hire, August 30th, beginning of September, they would automatically get enrolled to, once their account got in the system, it would automatically enroll them. They would get a welcome email and they were required to complete the training as well. We did weekly follow-up emails to remind staff, anyone that did not complete the training. It went out. It was due on October 31st. We followed up with HR and provided a list of any staff members that did not complete the training. And HR sent a follow-up email. So we've got a couple more that have completed it since. Here's the training that I sent out. So we had a total of 1,099 users. There's 197 that have not completed it yet, and we're working with HR to get those completed. Of those, 183 hadn't started it, 14 in progress. KnowBe4's got great dashboards that can kind of keep an eye on things and show you what's going on. So we keep an eye on that, and 902 have completed it. So we had 82% completion rate as of when I did this. Yep.
Is there any penalty to staff members who don't complete it? Because I know in mine, I wouldn't be eligible for pay increases if I don't complete it. And I work for the state. So I was just wondering if we have any sort of penalty for someone who does not, because someone who doesn't complete it and then we end up with a security issue could be a big deal.
Yeah. I don't believe there is anything. I know HR said that they would do the follow-up, and then for those that still haven't completed it, an email will be sent to their managers. So that's where we're at. So that may be something to,
Something
discuss and think about.
Change policy. I'm speaking for myself, but I would be an advocate for that because I think it's important.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that, it's not like it takes 40 hours of your day
right.
to do. And I think I think it's newer for our district to have these sorts of things. And so it might be a change for some people to get used to, but this is the way of the world now. And so it's something that I really think there should be some teeth to that we should put into it to really encourage people to take the time necessary to do these annual trainings.
Yeah, agreed. And, even maybe even some more follow-up trainings, throughout the year.
Mhm.
I know I did something and I included that in some of the board updates in the month of October. It was Security Awareness Month.
Mhm.
So I ended up through KnowBe4, they had some things. I sent out an email with a little attachment that, gave some hints or tips and just kind of put it in the forefront, reminded them to finish their email. So I think the more security information we get out to them, I think the better.
Yep.
KnowBe4 security testing. So we also do a monthly test to all staff. So all staff throughout it, the test usually starts on the first of the month. And then for, I think, the first 3 weeks, it sends email. It's random emails. So one may get an Amazon thing, one may get an eBay, one may get a COVID. It's all random and it's sent out over the course of those 3 weeks. So some will get it on day one and some will get it on the last day of the testing. So it's a random email. Dr. Lexman was just at a conference or something, and he met with the district and they were talking about consequences, and we knew we could do that, or like follow-up training if you fail the test. We actually met with KnowBe4 today and we started to configure. So starting next month at the test, if they fail the test, they're immediately enrolled in a very short online training that they'll have to go through. And then if they fail, if they fail a second time, we will work on further consequences, either a more in-depth training, and it's kind of tiered. So the more times they fail, the more we'll have training with them. Here's just a sample of a report, a phishing test report. So 1,100 recipients. We delivered over 1,000 emails. 731 opened the email. That's not necessarily considered a failure. If you open it, sometimes you have to actually be able to see the email to see what is going on. 48 users clicked on a link in the email. So that means they failed the test if they clicked on something in there. There's something new they send out. There's a QR code. If you scan the QR code, it flags you. Thank you. It flags you as a failure. If people reply, it's considered a failure, or open an attachment, macro enabled, data entered, reported. I'll get to this, but we're going to be rolling out a new button, a fish alert button, so people can report it as spam. And we're gonna be rolling that out soon. So 3 reported it. We just had that installed for the tech department. I just rolled it out to innovation coaches out in the building and sent them a test email, and they all reported it. And I noticed in the November testing, there was at least 3 or 4 that reported the emails. So they're starting to use that button. 42 bounced. We discovered there was an error in the system, and it was sending out these are emails that never got to the end user, and they were sending out emails that were PDF files, but they had a macro, and Google was flagging those right away as spam, and they weren't going to the user's mailbox. So we found a way to bypass that. We tested it today. It worked great, but the message came up still. The message came to the mailbox, but you couldn't click on the attachment because it was a virus, because it had a macro. So I've since gone in and I've removed those. So we won't be sending any PDF attachments with macros. So we should get rid of these bounces. They won't go there. So that just means they didn't get a test for that. If they were supposed to get that email, they didn't get a test that month. So I think we got that fixed. We'll see how things go next round of tests. Yep.
Will the button for reporting be within the actual email system itself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and I got a
one
picture
today.
of that.
I think I got the phishing email today, and I was like, I want to report this, but I can never remember the email address I need to send it to. So having a button is so handy. They just like, oh, report this as a phishing attempt.
Yeah, this will be great. And the great thing is when you report it and it's a test email, it'll tell you, congratulations, you reported a test email. I got a couple screenshots, so I'll show
Okay.
you.
Cool.
So it's integrated right into the Google email client. I can probably even show you what it looks like on my email. Here is the fish prone, kind of our history over a 1-year time period. So when we first started out, we were up at about 9.2. We've steadily gone down. There was a little uptick over the summer as we came back, which I wasn't too surprised because they probably were out of it. Then it dropped back down. A little concerned about this month. We're starting to see an uptick again. Don't know if the emails were a little more complicated. Different emails got through, we're probably going to see a flow. So we'll see where that goes. I think it's good that we're going to start follow-up training starting with failures next month. So,
Okay. Yeah.
Especially seeing this trend. So we'll keep an eye on this trend and see where things go. Yep.
Sorry, I have a lot of questions.
No, that's fine.
I know our ideal is 0%, but is there there's no before, or is there a like standard that we're trying to reach for institution of our size, number of employees that we have?
Industry standard, I believe, was 6.5% for education, or 6%. So we've been below that. It was either 6 or 6.5.
I think it was 6.5.
6.5% for
Okay.
fishing. So we
It's
are
good to know
below
where we
that.
sit. Yeah, it's good.
I agree. I'd like
Obviously,
to
we want 0, but
Yep.
just like, are we way high, or we low? So good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'd like to see us even lower. I agree. So know before, here's the fish alert button, or the PAB button as they call it. It's a new way for users to report suspicious emails. Staff can report suspicious emails with 1 click. When clicked, the email will be directed to the technology department for review. So we'll get an email. There's a dashboard. We can go in. A lot of the emails, if it's just spam, there's rules. It'll auto categorize it spam. It'll auto close it. But if it's one we need to look at closer, we can take a look at. If the email is from a security test, the user's correct action is reported. They'll get immediately feedback that, this is a test, congratulations. After reporting, the email is deleted from the user's inbox. And we plan to roll this out late November, early December. I wanted to get the innovation coaches on board, so we're going to get that. Used to be you had to install it, and then I had to send a secret code, and they had to copy the code and put it in. Now there's a way to just push it out to everybody's mailbox. It's auto-activated, so they won't have to do anything. We'll work with Amanda to send out communication on how to use it, where it's used. And again, the innovation coaches have used it. So there are a lot of times the go-to in their building, so they can work with the teachers on doing that. So here's kind of what it looks like in the mailbox in this first. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of small, but there's just a little fish hook on your right-hand side. And you just click on that and it'll say, are you sure you want to report it or whatever? And you click a report and it sends it. And if it's a standard email or it's not sure, it'll give you a little feedback and says, email reported successfully. Thank you for reporting this email to your security team. Because of people like you, our company is now secure. And then if it's a test, email reported successfully, congratulations. The email you reported was a simulated phishing attack initiated by your company. Good job. So it gives you a little bit of feedback on that. So I'm really looking forward to getting this rolled out and see how many people start reporting. These, I think it'll take some education and some communication, but we'll try to get the users to start reporting that.
Yeah.
And then school consolidation. We started some work with our copy vendor to redistribute any copiers from closed buildings. We met with them. There's some that we may have to put in a building for a year. It'll be an extra copier. But as copiers go off lease, we have a couple copiers, especially some bigger ones that are going off lease. We'll be able to pull them from the offices. At least the big ones we reuse, the more expensive ones, we'll be able to pull them from an office. And if a lease is expiring, we'll be able to put it in there. And then when the lane copier goes off lease in a year or two, then they'll get a new copier. So we're working with them to redistribute those. Working on a plan to redistribute staff and student technology as that comes up to get that reconsoled, and working on a plan for any required network changes. Won't affect the schools too much, you know, depending on what happens with the buildings. We may have to pull some fiber out or reorganize some things there. One of the big impacts will be when we move out of 1205. Most of the stuff has all been moved over to 9333, but we'll have to pull our cable out of here, and there may be a little bit of rewiring. So we're working on a plan of what'll be needed for that. That's it. So any other questions?
Have you had a kid try to get in? Because they're the ones who can work around everything.
We haven't really had any major attacks, you know, from students trying to do anything.
Okay. As a teacher, I see it all the time.
Yeah, they're always trying to get to sites they shouldn't, and,
Right.
you know, going to things like that, but not necessarily trying to get into any security system.
Okay.
Thanks for the update.
Yeah, any questions or concerns or anything you want to bring up?
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you for the
Thanks.
presentation. Thank you for the work you do. Super important. Only takes one person doing the wrong thing at the right time to be able to screw everything up. So
Yeah.
thank you
it's-
for for putting and keeping things up to date so that we can hopefully stay ahead of that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was our thing. So I will take a 5-minute recess because we have to turn everything off, and then we'll move into executive session. All right, so we are in recess.